Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being on this presentation today. My name is Terry Kelm with Sunbelt Business Brokers. I appreciate you all taking a little bit of time today to view this presentation and to participate in the webinar. The call is being recorded, so I will ask if you need to take another phone call or answer some questions, if you kind of do it as quietly as possible, that would be very much appreciated. And we will go ahead and get started with today's presentation, which is 5 common mistakes sellers make. We put this presentation together because everybody who is a franchisee at some point in time will be exiting their business. And whether you're thinking about selling your business in the relatively near future or still many years away, there are some things that we've noticed over Sunbelt's being in business for over 40 years that sellers, they're common mistakes that sellers make. And so, selling a business is a tricky proposition. And if you've never done it before, there are many moving parts. It's a process. It's not an event. It usually takes several months to complete a sale. And so, what we did today is, whether you're thinking about selling, like I said, now or in the near, or in the faraway future, whether you're going to use a business broker or not, we wanted to just kind of bring some things to the table that are kind of landmines that we've seen sellers, mistakes sellers have made, and kind of bring them to your attention so you can prepare to hopefully avoid those common mistakes when you go to sell your business, and hopefully it'll add to your overall success of selling the business and also get you a higher price for the business. So without further ado, we'll jump into 5 of the more common mistakes business owners make when trying to sell. Mistake number 1 is just not preparing, and you guys are all taking positive steps to avoid this mistake by just being on this call today. But when we talk about exit planning or succession planning, some people say, well, what really is that? Well, the definition of it is the preparation for the exit of an entrepreneur from his or her company to maximize the enterprise value of the business. But it's important to know that succession planning includes the word plan, and it does take preparation, it does take time, and the process really should start years before you're actually thinking about selling your business. It's not called exit nowing, meaning if you want to sell now, you just go ahead and put it on the market. You do have to start doing some things and preparing some things. And really, it all starts with coming up with what we call an exit plan, which includes goals. And when you set your exit plan, you should have goals that are concrete, that are actionable, meaning you can do things to make those goals happen. They should be realistic, but they also should be adjustable, because as you guys know, things happen in life. Games change, rules change, and so you have to be able to adjust your plan based on what's going on in your life personally, in your business's life, and the market in general. So there's got to be a lot of things that go with the plan from an adjustable standpoint. So here is my takeaway for this preparation. If you haven't yet created some kind of succession plan, I think it's time to do that. And again, whether you're looking at selling tomorrow or you're looking at selling 20 years down the road, I think you can start by just having a very simplistic goal of saying, hey, I would like to sell my business in a certain time for a certain amount of dollars. Just that one step of writing that goal down, that kind of gives you the beacon, the light of that you want to go to. And then from there, you look at what your business is worth today, and you figure out, okay, if I want to sell in 5 years and my business today is worth $500,000 and I want to sell for $1 million, what are the concrete steps that I need to do to get my business to the price I want to get it at? And you start writing some of those things down and then putting those things to work. And you have to have that goal out there, and you have to have that plan if you really want to make that goal happen, because a goal without a plan is just a wish. So if you haven't started a formal succession plan, and there's a lot of other things that go into formal succession plans, but if you haven't started yet, the first step is just to say, hey, what is my end game with the business? When do I want to be out? How much money do I want to sell for? And then you can start building your plan from there. And I think if you do at least that minimum step, it's going to help you set a course for the next few years or many years in business of things you want to do, how you want to build your business, and hopefully leads to a successful exit when you want to get to that point. And remember, again, the plan can be adjustable. You know, I always hark back to NASA when they landed on the moon for the very first time in 1969. You know, they put that rocket down within 3 feet of their intended target on the moon. But along the way, from the time they took off to the time they landed, they made over 10,000 adjustments to the flight plan en route. And you're going to have to do the same thing. You know, if you're not going to sell your business for 10 more years, and you know, you're going to have to make some adjustments to your plan along the way, because as I mentioned, things happen. So, but you need to have that beacon out there. You need to have that goal that you're going to, because that's going to help you set in motion the rest of the plan. So preparation starts with some simple things, and then putting an action plan behind it. Preparation also starts, if you're thinking about selling your business sooner than later, preparation also starts by performing due diligence on yourself. You know, it's very difficult as owners of businesses, and I own 2 businesses myself. You know, it's sometimes difficult to see the forest through the trees. And, you know, you want to be able to, if you could, to walk into your store today or tomorrow and say, if I was a buyer and I was thinking about buying this business, what wouldn't I like? And some of those things may be obvious, some might not be as obvious. But if you can dig into your, you know, how your store looks, if you can dig into your financials, if you can dig into your, you know, your social media presence, all those different things, and say, you know, if a buyer was looking at this, what would they see? That's going to help you find some things that you may be able to correct long before you go to market. And at the end of the day, going to market with a business as clean as possible is going to help you have a better success chance for selling your business. So here are a few of the key items that you know, qualified buyers, when you go to sell your business, are going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at your last 3 years of financial performance. They're going to look at your financials. They're going to look at your tax returns. They're going to look at your leases, whether it's just for your space, but also if you have any space, vehicle leases, equipment leases, office leases, etc., for your business. They're going to want to see a full and complete asset list of your business, and that includes all of your equipment, all your furniture, your fixtures, etc. You also want to be able to discuss, you know, what the value of being part of a franchise system adds. And you guys, you know, have not only the fact that you're part of the Dairy Queen system, but you also have the DQOA that you're members of, and you get considerable value from both of those opportunities. So it's important, because remember, a lot of the business buyers out there will be first-time business buyers, and thus they'll be first-time franchisees. So they're not going to understand the virtue of being a franchisee. They're not going to understand what the franchisor gives you, what DQOA gives you. You have to explain that to them and show them why that's a benefit. So having all of those items ready to go when you're ready to go sell your business is going to help you not only attract buyers, but it's going to help you sell the business to those buyers. So preparation, a very common overlooked mistake when you go to sell your business, and it starts again today. Mistake number 2, valuation. This is probably the most common mistake we see. I will tell you that, you know, in my 15 years of being in this chair, for every 10 sellers that I talk to, 9 of them probably have a higher opinion of value of their business than what market really bears. And by the way, I get it. I understand it. The business is always going to be worth more to you as the seller than it is on the open marketplace, because it was your time, your risk, your capital, your blood, your sweat, your tears. It was all of your energy that you invested in this thing. So it means more to you than it does to somebody else. But again, you have to be objective when it comes to evaluating your business. You have to put that buyer hat on and say, what would a buyer look at? Or what do the numbers show? And what is the market bearing for businesses of this caliber? And we went through in our last webinar that we did last year with you guys, a formula for valuation of businesses, and I'll be happy to share that with anybody who wants to. If you want to just email me after the show, I think it's also available on the DQOA website or intranet. But we at Sunbelt, I mean, this is what we do for a living. We help people, figure out what their business is worth. And I would be happy to help anybody on this call try to figure out what the value of their business is. Just give me a call or drop me an email and we can help you do that. It's one of the things that we bring with this partnership with the DQOA. So we'll help you put an objective price on your business. But understand too that valuation, is typically driven by the financial performances of the business. But there are other attributes as well that have to be present that's going to help sell your business and that's going to attract buyers. And we call those other attributes value drivers. And we went through a list of value drivers again in that last webinar, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but a couple of the main value drivers we talked about for Dairy Queen franchisees included having a management in place. Can the store operate without you being in the store? We talked about having your technology current. We also talked about trends. Do you have a positive sale trend? Is your cash flow trend positive? Those things are all going to add to the overall value of your business. And we had a Sunbelt office that really put this into a really nice analogy, and it's an analogy based on the sport of fishing. And if you look at the next slide I'm bringing up here, you see all these fishermen in the same creek. Well, in this analogy, the fishermen are you, the business sellers. So there's a bunch of different people trying to sell their business in this marketplace. The buyers are the fish. Okay, they're the ones in the stream, and they're looking to buy a business, or in this case, to bite on a pole or a bait. The bait is typically the cash flow, because usually the cash flow of the business, the valuation of the business, is what's going to attract the buyers the most. That's what they're buying. When somebody's making the decision in today's market to become an entrepreneur, what they're really looking for is to buy an income stream. Okay. But there has to be other things that attract them, because if you're the fisherman that has the exact same bait as the fisherman next to you, what's going to make that fish bite on your bait versus them? And that gets into those other attributes, right? That gets into, does the business run without me? That gets into what's the trends of the business. That gets into, is your technology good? Is your equipment up to date? All those other value drivers that buyers are going to look at when it comes to the business. They're gonna, yes, the financial performance is key, but there's going to be other attributes, those value drivers that buyers are also going to look at. So you as a fisherman, you have to not only have the right bait, but you also have to have the other tools that is going to snag the buyer long before they have a chance to go to somebody else's business. So I think that that analogy is a really good one to kind of just demonstrate what buyers are going to be looking for when it comes to buying a business. Mistake number 3, confidentiality. I will tell you guys right now, if you don't notice, and hopefully most of you already do, but if you're ready to sell your business, the one thing you don't want to do is put a for sale sign in your Dairy Queen store window. Okay. I know that's how real estate is sold in this country, but it's not how businesses are sold. And it's really, really important that when you go to sell your business, that you keep the process confidential, and that you keep the store's identity as confidentially as you possibly can. Okay, and I'm going to give you 2 real life lessons of why that's important. The first one was a Mexican restaurant near my house. My wife and I went to this restaurant 2 or 3 times over a course of a couple of years. It was a mom and pop type of establishment. It was good food. And it was good value. So we frequented it once in a while. Well, we were driving by the restaurant one day, and they did exactly what I had mentioned to you earlier. They put a for sale sign in the window. And my wife then made the comment, well, I guess I'm never going back to that restaurant to eat. And me being in small business ownership and selling businesses for a living, I was kind of thrown back by that comment. I said, why is that? And she said, well, obviously, if they're selling their business, they must have some kind of problem. And that is a very common stereotype right now, even in today's marketplace. When consumers see a business is for sale, they immediately think the worst of that business, that maybe the business has some kind of financial problems or has some other problems that's involved with it, and that's why they're selling their business. My wife never once considered the human nature of the business, that that maybe this person was selling for retirement, or maybe that person was selling for maybe the owner is sick, or they had a partnership breakup, or they're going through a divorce. There's lots of good human reasons why businesses sell, but consumers and employees typically think the worst when they hear a business is for sale. So that was one example. The other example was a landscape business. We had a landscape business here at the Sunbelt office in St. Paul, Minnesota, listed a few years back. And this lady had come in, and she'd been running this business for 10 years, and she wanted to sell to retire. And one of the things that we told her in the process of listing your business for sale was, you want to make sure you don't tell any of your employees that you're selling your business. And she said, well, wait a second. She said, I've had the same manager since I started. He is really great, and I feel that I owe it to him to tell him that I'm selling my business. We said, no, you don't owe it to him. You're telling you're selling your business, because as of right now, as you list your business for sale, there's nothing to tell. You still own the business, and you still want him to come to work every day and do the things that he's done to make you so successful in these 10 years. She didn't see that point of view, and she went ahead and told her manager that she's selling her business. Within a few months, about 4 or 5 months went by, and we still had not found the buyer for her business, because selling a business, as I mentioned, is a process, not an event, and typically the average sales time for selling a franchise business is about 8 months. So we were about 4 or 5 months into this process with her, and we were talking to her, and she said she no longer had her manager. Her manager had resigned. And not only had he resigned, but you know what he resigned to do? He went ahead and opened up a competing landscape company. So as I tell everybody, as I coach them about selling their business, until you sit across the table and somebody hands you that big fat check, and you hand them the keys to the business, whose business is it? It's still your business. So you need to do what you can to preserve the integrity of everything that's going on in the business. And that means that you don't tell vendors, you don't tell customers, and you don't tell your employees that you're selling your business until there's something to tell. So the timing is not when you list your business for sale. The timing is when you know you have that bona fide buyer, and then you can start making the transition out of the business. So to do that, all marketing has to be what we call blind profile. When you advertise your business for sale, you do not come out and say, I'm selling the Dairy Queen in Woodbury, Minnesota. In you guys' example, if you're in a marketplace that has a lot of Dairy Queens, you may be able to use the Dairy Queen name, but you do not want to give the location. So if you were selling one in, say, in the Twin Cities area, you could say Dairy Queen in the Twin Cities market. Or if you're in a smaller town that only has 1 or 2 Dairy Queens, then you're not going to even use the Dairy Queen name. You can say a fast food treatery, you can say a treat ice cream franchise, something along those lines. But you don't want to give the name away and the location away, because that's going to tell your customers, your vendors, and employees who you are. Also, if you're doing this by yourself, if you advertise the business and you start getting buyers to inquire, you're going to want to make sure that you know who those buyers are. Have those buyers give you a little bit of information about themselves, and have them sign a non-disclosure agreement. That non-disclosure agreement says that you're going to give them some information and they're not going to share it. You don't want somebody to find out that you're selling your business, and then they start talking to everybody in town that you're selling your business, because again, that could scare away customers. So at the end of the day, keeping the sale confidential is extremely important to the business from an ongoing standpoint, and for not only for yourself if you end up keeping the business, but also for the buyer who may be buying the business. So you want to make sure that there's no breach of confidentiality. Keep it quiet. Do blind profile marketing, and your business is going to be in a much better position to sell. Number 4 common mistake is ignoring market conditions. Look, we unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball. We do not know, if we think we're going to sell our business in 2022, as I said early on in that example, we don't know what the economy is going to be like in 2022. Are we going to be in a recession? Are we going to be in a boom market? Are we coming out of a recession? But what we do know is the economy, the condition of the market when you go to sell your business, does affect your ability to sell your business, and does affect the sales price of your business. And we only need to look back 10 years ago from today to to see an example of that. Back in 2007, we had a lot of people that were making good money in their business, and as they knew that they were getting close to retirement age or close to selling, they may have made the mistake of saying, you know what, I think I'm going to ride this out one more year. And then 2008 happened, and the recession hit, and most business sales went down, most business cash flows went down. But what also happened when the economy went down is buyers got nervous. Buyers who use typically stuff like their 401k or their stock portfolio or their home equity saw major hits in those three assets, and thus their ability to buy a business was lessened. We also saw the banks tightened up. We saw the banks, the lending got very much more difficult from a bank. They got much more, they much more scrutinized every deal. So it just became more difficult to buy a business. It became more difficult to find buyers who wanted to pull the trigger. And when they were looking at businesses, they saw businesses that were in decline. So the economy, the position of the economy matters. And we've had a really good stock market here since the last couple of weeks. But for the last 2.5 to 3 years, it's been a really good economic environment in this country. A lot of businesses are more healthy right now, and we've seen great results on the resales market. So it's just something, again, we don't have that crystal ball. You don't know what's going to happen from an economic standpoint, but you got to be cognizant of it. And you don't want to try to sell your business in the middle of a recession. It's going to be very difficult to do. The other thing that is going to be, an issue for some of you guys, if you're looking at selling your business in the next, 2 to 15 years, is the supply and demand ratio. The baby boomers in this country, there's 78 million of you, and 78 million baby boomers own about 2 million small privately held companies in this country. And over the next, 2 to 15 years, most, if not all of those businesses are going to transfer. And you're going to see unprecedented number of levels of businesses for sale in the marketplace between now and say 2026. Every analyst that I talk to regarding this is predicting the same thing. There is going to be a tidal wave of businesses for sale. And if you go back to that fishing picture and that fishing analogy, you're going to understand that there is going to be a lot more people in that stream with their poles in looking for those buyers to bite their bait. So it's going to be incumbent upon you to make sure that your business is as good as possible, that your value drivers are in place, that you have a sellable business. And look, at the end of the day, timing is everything. And the only sure way that you have to completely maximize the value of your business is going to be to sell when the climate is in your favor. You may not know if that's going to happen in your situation, but if you could pick it, you'd want to sell when it's good. I mean, your business is a stock, and what do you want to do with the stock? You want to sell when the price is high. So you want to sell when the odds are in your favor, when the climate is in your favor. So have that in mind as you think about when you want to sell your business. The last thing that we see mistakes is not utilizing professionals in the process. Everybody on the call, look, the bottom line is this: you only get one chance to sell your business. And you only get one chance to maximize the value of your business. So, most people who are thinking about selling their business, as they talk to business brokers and they realize business brokers charge a fee, and then they talk to their accountant and they talk to a financial advisor and they think about talking to a tax attorney. And all of those professionals that are going to be involved potentially in the sale of your business are going to cost you money. You're going to write a check to those people if they help you sell your business. But I will tell you that if those professionals are really good at what they do, they should still net you more money, even after you pay them, than if you tried to do it on your own. They should bring value to the transaction. They should be able to help you maximize the value of your business. Even with you paying them, you should see more money to your pocket than if you tried to do it without their advice or without their counsel, without their guidance. So good professionals should help pay for themselves and more. But listen, the takeaway here is it starts with a phone call. You guys have a terrific resource in the DQOA regarding this process, and DQA has added us to their arsenal, and it's free. Have a conversation with us. Call me, call one of our local offices, and just say, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think about this? We'll give you our opinion for nothing. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you decide to go on your own, at least you have hopefully a little bit more ammunition to do that. But we'll also tell you how we work and how we get you higher prices, and how a tax attorney is going to save you money, and how your accountant is going to save you money. So again, at the end of the day, it's not what you pay professionals, It's how much you end up with net in your business. That's what you should be focusing on, and that's why you should consider using professionals in the sale of your business. So again, why take the risk? Hiring a business broker to do, to help you sell your business is going to mitigate some of these common mistakes, and it's going to increase your odds of a successful sale. But at the end of the day, it's really up to you. It's your business, and how you get rid of your business is completely, your call. But if you decide to go down the path of using a business broker, we hope that you'll consider Sunbelt. This is what we do. We've been in business for 40 years, since 1978. We have 150 local offices. We are a franchise, guys, so we really understand the franchise resales process. That's our specialty, because we are a franchise ourselves. And we do billions of dollars in sales annually. It's kind of our forte, and that's again why DQOA has introduced us as a vendor, and that's why they allowed us to have these conversations, these trainings with you guys to help you maximize the value of your business. So my contact information is on the screen, both local and toll-free number, also my email address. Again, reach out to me with any questions at all. That's the resource we have for you. So I appreciate you guys being on the call. We did it exactly in about 30 minutes here, actually 28 minutes, so we're under budget. I will now turn it over and see if there's any questions that anybody has regarding anything we just covered today on today's presentation. Okay. My name is Terry Kelm, and I'll just give you my phone number. You can call me off when we're done if you want. That number is 888-484-0332. Yep, 888 Terry Kelm, Kelm, with Sunbelt. And also, if you got any of the DQOA newsletters, our contact information is on there as well, I believe. So you can reach us out that way too. Okay. Sure, go ahead. I'm not understanding when you say laying contract. Oh, seller financing. I am a big proponent of seller financing for many reasons. Seller financing has a lot of advantages to it. Seller financing also has, of course, a risk. We all know what the risk in seller financing is, and that is that you might not get paid everything that you sold your business for. But to me, if you do your homework, if you do your due diligence on the buyer, the rewards of seller financing outweigh the risks of seller financing. So what are some of the rewards of seller financing? Well, number one, you typically can get a higher price for your business through seller financing. And that's because of how you recast your financials. And that's a different, longer conversation we have time for today. But usually we can see a higher price for the business through seller financing. Number two, seller financing, we don't ask you to seller finance for free. We're gonna put an interest rate on there that's commensurate with what the buyer would be paying the bank, and all that interest is going to go to you. So now you're going to make even more money on the sale of your business through seller financing. Number three, depending on the situation with the banks, it may be the best way to get a loan through is to seller finance. I mean, you go back to 2008, 2009, when the bank stopped lending, the only way we were getting businesses sold was through seller financing. So even though banks have come back and the SBA is lending at a pretty good rate right now as far as the number of loans they're approving, they still don't approve every loan. So it might be the only way to get a business sold is through seller financing. But here's the last reason I'll bring up why seller financing I think is a good idea. Seller financing really changes the whole buyer-seller dynamic. And let me give you an example of what I mean by that. If you were going to try to buy my business and you said, hey, Terry, I want you to seller finance me. And I said, hey, listen, I'm going to be on the next plane to Bora Bora as soon as you write me that big fat check. I'm not interested in holding any kind of note. Okay? That sends a certain message. But contrast that message to this message. You know, Mr. Buyer, I like you, and I know that this business is built for long-term success, and I think you're the right person to take it to that long-term success. So I'm willing to stay in the game with you and to finance you for X number of years. You just sent a real positive message, not only about that buyer, but also about the business. And that really changes the whole buyer-seller dynamic. You're not adversaries anymore, you're partners. And that person knows that you believe in him, that person or her, that also person knows that you believe in your business that you're selling. So, that's just 4 or 5 reasons right off the top of my head of why seller financing, I think, should be considered by every seller. It might not be right for you, and if it's not, you don't have to seller finance. But we are proponents of seller financing because we think it gives more money to the seller, and it really helps get deals done. Sure, go ahead. So the question is how much down payment would you want to see if you're going to be seller financing somebody? Yep. The nice thing about that again is if you are being the bank, you can determine that, right? You can say how much you want. Now let me give you some frame of references. The SBA has programs right now that allow buyers to get into businesses for anywhere between 10 and 20% down of the purchase price. Okay? So I do not recommend that low of a number for someone who's going to seller finance. I want that buyer invested. I want that buyer committed to this business, right? I think it starts at a minimum of a third down, and I'd like to see maybe even up to a half down if we could. But I think a third down is a good target, 33, 35%. If you can get 50% down, that's even better. But again, the higher you go from a down payment, the more likely you're eliminating some buyers who don't have that kind of money, right? So you got to kind of weigh the market and see, and look at the individual buyers. And again, you don't have to commit to that, how much money down. You can make it buyer specific because you're the bank. But to answer your question, I'd like to see at least a third down. I think that's the minimum from a seller standpoint that you want to get on a down payment for your business. You bet. Any other questions? All right, people, I really appreciate everybody being on the call today. I hope you found it informative. If you have any further questions, again, give me a call or drop me an email. Otherwise, I hope everybody has a terrific holiday season, and we'll be talking to you guys again in sometime in 2019. Everybody have a great Christmas and Happy New Year. Thanks a lot for calling today.